stick to make it as smooth as possible, as this is going to push up against the inside of the tarp. I then put this stick underneath the centre of the tarp, making sure it is as straight as possible. You can add a cut-out tennis ball or a sock to the top of the stick to prevent it from causing any wear against the tarp. I then tie a guy line to the next tie-up point that is adjacent to the front corner of the shelter. I fold this part of the tarp back on itself and tie this off to the back corner peg using an adjustable guy line hitch. I do the same to the opposite side. To finish the shelter off, I add another guy line to the front centre point of the tarp to tie out the entrance and help to shed the rain away from the shelter. Now I have a low profile tarp tent that is very well protected from the elements. It works really well in strong winds as it has so many angles to it, which deflect the wind. The entrance to the shelter is small, but it keeps you from being exposed to the elements. There is still room enough inside for me and my gear. This tent can be even easier to make if you use an adjustable hiking pole for the centre instead of a stick. That way you have an easier way to keep the shelter taut. But what about hammock campers? What's the best tarp setup for winter hammock camping? Well, my personal favourite is a diamond fly. This offers best protection against the elements in particularly heavy rain, as it has a sharp angle to shed the water. There are different ways of tying this tarp formation, some with a ridgeline, some without. For this example, I am not going to use a ridgeline. Instead, I have guy lines tied to each of the four corners of the tarp. I tie one corner of the tarp to a tree just above head height. There are a number of knots you can use, but I use a Siberian hitch. If you want to learn how to tie it, I recommend watching my tarp setups video below. Once you have tied off that corner, tie off the opposite diagonal corner to the other tree. Note that the tarp is tied out so that it is in a diagonal fashion. This is where the diamond shape will be made. Once you have tied out those two ends, you should have just two remaining guy lines. Grab these and peg the tarp out as vertical as possible. That way water will not sit on the tarp and make it sag. It also helps to prevent the wind from ripping through underneath the tarp. Then do the same to the opposite side. And that's it. A simple diamond fly tarp setup, great for hammock camping in adverse weather conditions. All you need to do now is string your hammock between the trees. The great thing about this setup is that if the weather conditions allow it, you can quickly adapt it to get much more space underneath. All you need to do is undo one of the side guy lines and take it further out to the side and tie it to the nearest tree around head height. The other side should be the one that is protecting you from the wind. Now you have an